in the Gospel of Philip, there's a passage almost no one talks about, not because it is difficult, because it was never supposed to reach you. The scene takes place after the Last Supper. The disciples are in a closed room. The air is heavy. Jesus is not teaching with words this time. He is holding 3 small branches, one from his sup, one from cedar, and one from a plant. The text calls the white flame, which scholars now believe refers to white sage. He tells them, "These plants do not just cleanse the body. They seal the room. They create a barrier that Archon energy cannot cross." Stop for a moment. If something inside you is already responding, if your chest tightened or your breath shifted without you deciding it, that is not coincidence. That is recognition. The divine spark inside you is reacting to a frequency it has not encountered in this lifetime. You are not a casual viewer who wandered here by accident. You are pneumatic. You carry the original light of the monad. The fact that you felt isolated your entire life, like you never belonged to the world around you, that was never a flaw. That was the spark rejecting a frequency it was never designed to match. If you are watching this tonight and something is shifting inside you, comment 3 branches right now. That is your declaration as a chosen one receiving what was hidden. Tonight you receive something the early Gnostics guarded with their lives. 3 plants, 3 frequencies, 1 permanent shield against every Archon transmission feeding on your energy. I will show you the exact placement, the exact method, and the exact words spoken over them that turn ordinary leaves into a seal no Archon can decode. Place your hand over the center of your chest right now. Feel the warmth building there. That is the spark recognizing what is coming. But before I reveal the 3 plants, you need to understand why this knowledge was erased and what happens when these plants enter your living space. Without that understanding, the technique works at half capacity. You did not find this video to operate at half. To understand why 3 plants can block Archon energy, you first need to understand what Archon energy actually is, and more importantly, you need to understand the structure of the reality you are living inside. According to the Gnostic texts, particularly the Apocryphon of John, the universe you see around you was not created by the true source. The true source is what the ancient pneumatics called the monad. The monad is pure consciousness, infinite, silent, complete. It did not create the material world. The material world was constructed by a lower being called the Demiurge, a fractured intelligence that mistook itself for the highest power. And the Demiurge did not work alone. It deployed agents, administrators, watchers. The Gnostic texts call them Archons. Now here is what most people miss. Archons are not demons in the way religion taught you. They are not red creatures with horns. Archons operate on frequency. They exist at a vibrational layer your physical eyes were never built to detect. A dog can hear sounds you cannot hear. The sound still exists. You simply lack the receptor. Archons function in that invisible band. They broadcast low-frequency transmissions that land inside your mind as thoughts you believe are your own. Fear that has no source. Doubt that appears right when you are about to change. Exhaustion that hits the moment you reach for something higher. That is not weakness. That is interference. And this is where it gets dangerous for them. The monad, the true source, encoded certain elements of the natural world with frequencies that disrupt Archon transmission entirely. Not reduce, not soften, disrupt. The same way a specific sound frequency can shatter glass, certain plant frequencies shatter the coherence of Archon signals. The early Gnostics knew this. The Asceni communities knew this. And Jesus taught it directly to the inner circle in private, never to the crowds, never to the public, only to those he identified as chosen ones. The pneumatic carries off the original spark. Take a deep breath right now, a slow one, in through the nose. Hold it for 3 seconds and release through the mouth. Feel your shoulders drop. That release you just felt is your nervous system stepping out of frequency. It has been locked in all day. Remember that feeling, because what you are about to learn will teach you how to make that release permanent inside your own home. But here's the part they could not allow to survive. In the 4th century, when Constantine consolidated the church into a single-state religion, the teachings about the natural world as a frequency tool were among the first targeted, not because they were primitive, because they worked. A person who could seal their home against Archon influence did not need a priest. A person who could clear their own mind without confession did not need a church. A person who could access the monad through the vibrational properties of 3 plants did not need an institution between them and the source. That was the threat. Sovereignty. The church could not monetize that, could not control it. So the teachings were stripped from the text. The community scattered, and the specific knowledge which plants, which placement, and which spoken activation was erased from every manuscript they could reach. But they did not reach all of them. The Nag Hammadi library survived, buried in a sealed clay jar in the Egyptian desert for over 1,600 years. Inside those texts, fragments of this teaching remain scattered across the Gospel of Philip, referenced in the hypothesis of the Archons, hinted at in the Gospel of Truth. What emerges when you piece them together is remarkably clear. 3 specific plants, 3 specific frequencies, 1 complete shield. And this is exactly why the church removed this teaching. Not because it was heretical, because it was too effective. Now, let me tell you something about the way Archons interact with physical space, because this is where the science and the spirit meet. Archons do not float randomly through the atmosphere. They concentrate. They pull in specific areas of your home, corners where energy stagnates, thresholds where you transition between states of consciousness, doorways, the space beside your bed where your mind shifts between waking and sleep. The Gnostic texts call these thin points places where the boundary between the material frequency and the Archon frequency becomes almost transparent. That is why you sometimes feel heaviness in a room for no reason. That is why certain corners feel different. You walk into a space and immediately feel drained or foggy even when nothing visible has changed. You're not imagining it. You are perceiving frequency. Most people were taught to ignore that perception, but you are not most people. You are pneumatic. Your ability to sense what others dismiss is your equipment working exactly as the monad designed it. And this is where the 3 plants come in. Each one operates at a different frequency. Each one targets a different layer of Archon transmission. And when placed together in the correct configuration inside your living space, they create what the Gospel of Philip describes as a living seal. Not a one-time cleansing, not temporary relief. A permanent self-sustaining field that Archons cannot penetrate, cannot decode, and cannot adapt because the frequency of these plans comes directly from the monad. It is source code, and Archons being product of the Demiurge cannot interface with source code. It is like trying to open a file with the wrong operating system. The system does not fight it. It simply cannot read it. If you are ready to receive the 3 plants and the activation method that Jesus taught to the chosen ones in that closed room, comment, "Seal my home right now." This is not a casual moment. This is your declaration that you are prepared to take back your living space from frequencies that have been operating in it without your permission. The chosen ones before you made the same commitment. And tonight, you are joining that unbroken chain. Now, let me give you the first plant, hyssop. In the original Hebrew text, it appears as Oef. This is not a random herb. This plant appears more than any other in the oldest scriptures when the subject is purification. But the church reduced it to a symbolic metaphor. They taught you hyssop in the Psalms was just a figure of speech. It was not. The Gnostic communities understood that hyssop emits a vibrational frequency that disrupts the lowest band of Archon transmission, the band responsible for fear, irrational sourceless fear, the kind that arrives at 3 o'clock in the morning when everything is quiet and suddenly your chest is tight and your mind is racing through scenarios that did not exist 5 minutes ago. That is not anxiety the way modern medicine defines it. That is a transmission. And hyssop, the living plant, not dried, not processed, alive and rooted in soil, produces a constant counter frequency that makes that transmission impossible within its radius. The Essenes kept hyssop at every entrance of their communities, not as decoration, as a frequency barrier, the first layer of the seal, but it goes deeper than that. Because hyssop alone is only the foundation, it blocks the lowest frequency, the fear band. But Archons do not operate on a single channel. They are layered, and the second layer is far more subtle. Confusion, mental fog, the sensation of knowing you're supposed to do something important but being unable to remember what it is. Sitting down to change your life and suddenly losing all clarity, all direction. That is not distraction. That is the second Archon frequency. and the plant that dismantles it has been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years. Cedar, the second plant in the seal. In the ancient world, cedar was not just building material. The Gnostic communities understood it as a living antenna tuned to the monad frequency. The Gospel of Truth speaks of the tree of knowledge not as a metaphor for sin, but as a literal reference to a vibrational bridge between the material world and the source. Cedar carries that bridge in its cellular structure. Its frequency does not just block Archon fog, it replaces it, whereas sup creates silence by stopping the fear transmission. Cedar fills that silence with clarity. One removes noise. The other introduces coherence. At this moment, straighten your spine. Sit upright. Feel your feet flat against the ground. Notice the line of energy that runs from the base of your spine to the crown of your head. That alignment you just created is exactly what cedar does to the frequency of a room. It straightens the signal. It removes the static. And this is the part the early church found most threatening about cedar. Because a person living inside cedar frequency does not just think more clearly. They begin to see. They begin to perceive the mechanics of the system around them. The manipulation becomes visible. The false constructs start to feel transparent. A hillock will never experience this. A psychic might sense a flicker of it on their strongest days. But a pneumatic living inside a cedar sealed space will see the architecture, a control, the way you see furniture in a room. Obvious, undeniable, permanent. That is why cedar was removed from sacred practice. The church replaced it with incense, smoke that rises and vanishes. A temporary sensory experience with no lasting frequency alteration. They gave you the theater of purification while stripping away the technology. Now, here is where the third plant completes what the other two begin. And this is the one that surprised even the scholars who reconstructed this teaching from the Nag Hammadi fragments. White sage. The text calls the white flame. And the reason is not poetic. It is descriptive. White sage does not operate on a single frequency the way as sup and cedar do. White sage pulses. It oscillates across the entire spectrum that Archons use to transmit. Think of it as a frequency scrambler. Hop blocks the low band. Cedar clears the mid-band. White sage sweeps the entire range in a continuous pulse that makes it impossible for any Archon signal to lock onto your home. The living plant produces this pulse constantly, not when you burn it. Constantly. The Archons cannot time their transmissions around it because the pulse is irregular, organic, alive. Close your eyes for a moment right now. Just 3 seconds. In that brief darkness, notice if you feel a slight pressure at the center of your forehead. That is your pineal center responding to the information your spark is already processing. You do not need to force anything. Just notice. Open your eyes. Now, here is the critical piece, the placement. Because having all 3 plants in your home is not enough. Their position determines whether the seal activates or remains dormant. The Gnostic texts describe a triangulation. Hop at the main entrance of your home. This is a threshold, the primary thin point where external Archon frequencies attempt to enter. Cedar in the room where you sleep. This is where your consciousness is most vulnerable, where the boundary between waking awareness and the Archon-accessible dream state is thinnest. And white sage at the center of your living space, the heart of the home, the place where the pulse radiates outward in every direction and fills the gaps between the other 2 plants. 3 plants, 3 positions, 1 unbroken field. But placement alone does not complete the seal. This is where the activation comes in. And this is the part that separates the Gnostic method from every other cleansing tradition. You must speak over them. Not pray, not ask, declare. The difference matters. Prayer positions you beneath the source. Declaration positions you as part of it. You are not requesting protection. You are recognizing protection that already exists in the frequency of these plants and commanding it into full expression. The monad does not respond to begging. The monad responds to recognition. When you speak as a pneumatic, as a carrier of the divine spark, the frequency of your voice synchronizes with the frequency of the plants and the seal locks into place. The words are simple. Stand in the center of your home, near the white sage. Say out loud, and I mean out loud, not in your mind. Your voice carries a frequency your thoughts do not. Say these words. I am of the monad. This space is sealed. No frequency born of the Demiurge may enter here. Say it once for his sup. Say it once for cedar. Say it once for white sage. 3 declarations, 3 plants, 1 seal. That is a complete activation. Now say those words with me right now. Wherever you are, even in a whisper, I am of the Monade. The space is sealed. No frequency born of the Demiurge may enter here. Feel the vibration in your chest as you speak. That vibration is not metaphor. That is the frequency of your spark activating. Here is what to expect once the seal is in place. Within the first night, you will notice a change in the quality of silence in your home. Not quieter, cleaner, as if a layer of static you never consciously registered has been removed. Within 3 days, your 19 minutes, 30-second sleep will shift. Dreams will become clearer, less chaotic. You may receive what the Gnostics called night teachings, information that arrives during sleep in a form your waking mind can retain. Within 7 days, emotional hooks stop landing the way they used to. Situations that would have triggered fear or despair will feel distant, not numb, clear. You will see the trigger, recognize its origin, and it will pass through you without attaching. That is the seal working. And here is something you need to prepare for. Right after you set this up, doubt will come. A thought will appear. This is ridiculous. Nothing happened. You wasted your time. Notice that thought. Do not argue with it. Do not try to prove it wrong. Just notice it because that thought is not yours. That is the last Archon transmission getting through before the seal fully locks. The pattern trying to maintain itself is the final proof that the pattern exists. Resistance is confirmation. Remember that. Let me bring this full circle. Jesus did not teach the chosen ones to pray for protection. He held 3 branches in a closed room and showed the pneumatics how to create a living barrier using frequencies the monad encoded into the natural world. Not symbols, not metaphors, frequencies. Hop to collapse the fear band. Cedar to replace the fog with clarity. White sage to scramble every remaining Archon channel. 3 plants, 3 positions, 1 seal. The church erased this because it made you sovereign. A chosen one who can seal their own space does not need a middleman between them and the source. Your frequency is elevated right now. You can feel it, that warmth in your chest, that clarity behind your eyes. That is not imagination. That is activation. And the Archons know it. Right now, they will begin sending you reasons to delay. Tomorrow, next week, when I have more time, that impulse is not yours. It is the last attempt to keep you from completing what you started tonight. Do not give them that window. Before you sleep tonight, place the plants. Speak the words. Seal your home. Now, do 3 things right now while this frequency is still alive in you. First, comment, "My home is sealed," below this video. That is not just a comment. That is a declaration. Every other chosen one who sees it will know they are not alone. Second, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. What comes next goes deeper than tonight, and you need to be here when it arrives. Third, like this video, the algorithm suppresses this content. Your like is how other pneumatics find what was hidden from them. Do all 3 right now. You now carry what Jesus handed to the inner circle in that room. The same 3 plants, the same seal, the same authority. Not because someone gave you permission, because the monad encoded that authority into your spark before this world was constructed. Tonight, you seal your home. Tonight, the Archons lose access. You are a chosen one. You are pneumatic. You always were. Now your home will finally reflect what you have always